Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, welcome to another day of working on the 24 valve Cummins. So first things first, I want to address a couple things. Yesterday, I know a couple of you guys had commented already on that video that the parking brake is actually doing what it's supposed to, because on these second gens, that's what it does. You just push it and it stays down. I'm not gonna disagree with you, but not all second gens are that way. So this is a gas truck. This is Veronica. She is an 01, like I said, a gas truck, manual transmission, but as you guys can see, the parking brake pedal is back. So we pull the handle and the parking brake comes back. So I'm not saying you guys are wrong, but I'm saying at least not all second gens are like that. So we will get to figuring that out at some point, figuring out what's going on with that, you know, maybe changing the parking brake cables and all that. So anyhow, today's first objective is to try and get the truck running again. So last night we had some issues between flashing the truck and all that. The batteries died. We couldn't get the truck started again, but I also noticed that our battery terminals are a bit wore out. Man, I'm losing my train of thought already. So the negative side of the battery was pretty tight, and if you look at it, it's actually been broken previously, which I did not notice last night. So there's that, and then the driver's side was starting to rip off. Same kind of deal, still wouldn't get tight, but I mean, these things are pretty chewed up. So if you look at them, they've been beat and wailed on for quite a few years. I mean, look at just all the hammer marks. Look how tore up these things are. So that's, you know, just the cause of this thing being 22 years old, 217,000 miles, which really isn't a ton for its age. So what I did, I got a battery terminal just for this power wire, because I believe that was our problem. Like I said, I didn't notice a couple of these other things last night, but on my way home from work, I picked up the new battery terminal. So we're gonna try this on that driver's side, because this is like the, this is the battery you delete if you're going to go to a single battery on all these applications. So this is the main driving battery, if you will. So if we got a good connection to this, I feel like we should be able to start the truck. So we're going to start there. I looked on some websites and found some nice battery terminals that I'm thinking about doing, but I want to get this, I don't want to say resolved, but I want to get the truck started again is the primary thing, and then we will worry about this down the line. We'll change all these out so we have good connections on our battery. So we're going to start there. Hopefully we can get the truck started, and then we'll move on to whatever else we're going to do tonight, because like I said before, I would like to check the brakes on this thing and just kind of give this thing a good bill of health, so when we know we're driving down the street, we don't all of a sudden lose our brakes, which means we do need to check our brake lines as well, because Veronica has been through quite a few brake lines, and she's about the same age as this truck. Also, we need to name this thing. So put down in the comments down below what you think we should name this 24 valve. And by the way, we're not going to be P-pumping the truck, at least not anytime soon. We're going to learn about the VP44. We're going to learn what's good about it, what's not so good about it, and we're going to just have some fun with the platform as it sits. I know I had a lot of comments saying P-pump it. So anyway, let's get this thing started again. so the truck starts and runs again. Got the got the power cable on the driver's side battery all sorted out. Got our new temporary terminal. I'm going to get something a little nicer and replace all of these just so we have good connections. You know, now this thing is nice and firm on there, whereas before it wasn't. But once again, our ground here is all tore up, but the truck starts. Also, we you know, battery strap would probably be good. So truck starts. Also, we had a bunch of codes, and it was probably my guess from last night when, you know, we're trying to start the truck and the batteries are dead and all that, and we didn't have a good connection. So I cleared the codes and none of the codes came back. The truck is charging, which somebody had wrote in, I think somebody DM'd me on the Instagram saying that the charging with these goes through the computer, and until they get like kind of warmed up, they will have a tendency to not show that they are charging right away, which we will find out. The truck is charging. It's only charging at it's like 13 3/4 volts. Typically when I'm looking at a vehicle running, I'm hoping to see 14 volts. It's only 1/4 of a volt, but whatever. It's an older truck. We're learning. We'll find out. I'm sure somebody will comment down below if I'm wrong. So anyway, on to what else we're going to get into. We're going to pull the front wheels off the truck. We're going to check the front brake pads. Also, somebody had DM'd me on the Instagram saying that ABS light could be on because the wheel speed sensors or the ABS sensors or whatever up front here could be dirty. So that's something we're going to check out. Like I said, guys, not something I know a whole lot about. So I'm kind of trying to take any piece of consideration. I'm trying to take any information anybody's giving me into consideration when I'm looking at this. But the park and brake thing, like I said, Veronica, it goes to the floor and stays there. Kind of how I feel this should be. I'm not saying yours doesn't work, but I just don't feel like that's right. So anyhow, guys, let's get these front wheels off and see what's going on with the brakes. All right, so got everything off, checked the brakes. We have plenty of brake pad left. If I can show you guys here. So we got plenty of brakes left on our pads. The rotors don't look bad. Got everything greased up, so there's a ton of grease fittings on this thing. Upper ball joints, lower ball joints, the steering linkage on both sides, coming off the pitman arm, and then on this side there's actually like a pitman arm type like support. Both of those are greased. The only thing that wasn't greased is actually the upper ball joint on the driver's side. For whatever reason, last time it was replaced, it wasn't greasable, whereas everything else was. So got everything greased up. Got to put this wheel back on. Once we get that back on, we can check our ball joints, check our wheel bearings, see, you know, what kind of slop we have, if any, and then go from there. What we're going to do too is we're going to pull the rear wheel off. I know they're drum brakes. I want to just take a look. Also, another thing, these lug nuts were on so tight. On the driver's side, I actually had to stand on my breaker bar. And on the driver's side here, I actually had to grab this piece of tube so we could get everything loosened up. And yeah, they must have been put on with an air gun and just ran until the thing stopped. They were tight. So, all right, let's get to checking ball joints and wheel bearings and see how everything is. All right, so hopefully there's not too much background noise. I know this is going to be very hard to hear, but I told you guys that there was not a grease fitting in the top ball joint here on the driver's side, and I figured out the reason for that. So everything seems nice and tight on the passenger side, but when we come over here to the driver's side, pry up. So, like I said, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear that, but ball joints on the driver's side are not in the best of shape. They're definitely not as shot as I've seen, but they should be replaced. So my guess would be that whenever this truck was in for inspection last year or whatever, needed a ball joint on at least the passenger side. So they did them, and then they didn't do anything over here on the driver's side, and now that has wore out. Just a guess, but we don't know the history of the truck. But the passenger side seems nice and tight. Both wheel bearings seem good, so we'll probably go ahead and replace the ball joints here on the driver's side because, like I said, yeah, they're shot. Alright, so we are done with the back of the truck. Surprisingly, both brake drums actually kind of just slid right off. This one I tapped a little bit, but it came right off, wasn't rusted on there. But on both of these, the drum brakes have plenty of life left in them. So we got the one thing we do have to do is we do have to adjust the parking brake for this because when I had it jacked up, obviously after I got the wheels and everything back together, I tried to put the truck in neutral and spun it, and well, the wheels still spun. So if we want the parking brake to work, we will have to go in and readjust the self-adjuster on the drums. And part of the reason they get out of adjustment is nobody, especially with an automatic, uses the parking brake typically. So all our brakes look good. We have a couple ball joints we need to do, and like I said, normally when I replace ball joints, I do all four of them at the same time. I do the passenger side and I do the driver's side. But with this truck, what I think happened is somewhere in the course of its life, somebody decided that they're going to do one side of the ball joints and not the other, or whatever. The grease fittings on the passenger side here look fairly new. They're still pretty. They still have that like goldish color. So we're just going to do the driver's side for now, and we'll see how that goes. If it becomes where we're going back and forth or whatever, if we end up putting that kind of mileage on the thing, then we'll just do both at the same time. And the next time we have to do it, and then we'll be done with that whole ordeal. And then onto the parking brake. Like I said, we got to adjust it to get it to work properly. And part of the reason I want it to work is me and 47, 48 REs. Yeah, typically we don't get along too well sometimes. So I'd like to have the parking brake working because at some point in this truck's future, I'm sure it's not going to have a transmission in it. So I would like that to work. That being said, I did look at the parking brake pedal assemblies in both trucks, this and Veronica. So I guess you guys who commented in the last video and stuff and sent me some DMs on Instagram, some of you were right, but you're wrong. So some second gen trucks, the pedal comes back up. Some they don't. I looked it up. Apparently they did change the design. This truck's a 98.5. Veronica is a 2001. So when they did that, I don't know whether it was. I would just highly doubt it was a difference between a gas and a diesel truck. Really wouldn't make much sense. But they did change that at some point, so it doesn't come back. I don't really care for it. I'm used to the one in Veronica. It makes more sense that you have that positive, it's on and it's off. So anyway, enough of that little rant about that. We have all our check engine lights off. Our ABS and our brake light are still on the truck. Somebody had said something about the wheel speed sensors or sensors up front. This truck doesn't have it, so this truck must only have rear ABS. But if I remember correctly, when we had a truck out before, the speedometer was working, so that means that sensor should be good because that all operates off the tone ring on the ring gear. So if you guys have any ideas about the ABS and the brake light, let me know. Whether it's the ABS control module or whatnot, I don't know. It's not really a big deal. Just would like to get those lights off the dash if we can, so it's one less thing we have to worry about with the truck. So anyway, guys, I know it's not the most exciting thing, but this is just kind of the steps you need to take, or you should take, when you buy a when you buy a new to you truck and you plan on actually doing some driving with it. If it's just like a project that's going to sit around, that's a little bit different story. But like I said, I want to be able to drive this thing to and from work, not have to worry about it. I have a feeling that this truck probably gets better fuel economy than any of the vehicles I have, just because the nature of these old, well, I guess semi-mechanical trucks. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please like the video, subscribe down below. Catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage, get the wrenching on your truck.